As you already know, guys, Itagaki, Tomonobu Itagaki has died. We got the announcement today, Thursday. Now, I don't know when this video is gonna come out. If I release it immediately or if I wanna take a little bit more time to make it a bit more complex. We'll see. But yeah, in this video I wanna talk about the man itself because this guy has been at some point in time this guy was very popular, and nowadays nobody really knows him. If you ask one of the new gamers, let's say people who started playing games 10 years ago or even 15 years ago, they will tell you they have no idea who this guy is. But back in the early 2000s he was very controversial, but also quite popular with his with his persona that he had personally crafted. He liked to act to LARP as a rock star with his leather jacket and glasses, which is a kind of a striking difference to how he was portrayed before, how he presented himself before. Before he developed this new style for himself, he was actually kind of a normal person, let's say. He dressed normally, even in interviews. If you look at the footage, for example, from before Ninja Gaiden 1, Ninja Gaiden 2004 came out, you can see he's just dressing and acting normally. But then, from what I understand and remember, he sort of fell into a depression. And after he emerged, he got over that depression. He started adopting that rockstar persona, that very overconfident and a bit arrogant, but not in a bad way, persona. So, like back in the day, I was one of his fans because I liked the way he talked to interviewers, to journalists. I like his confidence, because also it was not misplaced. He was confident because he was helping, directing, what you want to call it, good games. Dead or Alive 2 and 3 are very good fighting games, in my opinion. Yeah, on a competitive level, maybe they are not the best, but overall, they are very good. Definitely top 50, at least in the top 50 games, or maybe top 100 games of all times, in my opinion. Same with Ninja Gaiden Black and Ninja Gaiden 2 Vanilla. So if you have played Dead or Alive 2 on Dreamcast, like I did at the launch, that game was really impressive for the time. Graphically, there was nothing like else. You can say Soul Calibur. Yeah, Soul Calibur was also pretty impressive, but Dead or Alive 2 did something that Soul Calibur never did. Dead or Alive 2 had multi-layered stages. I think it was the first fighting game, the only fighting game at the time that was doing that stuff. Multi-layered stages where characters could break through walls and then change the plane of the fight, jump to another arena. So it had a single level, had multiple levels within it, because you could change arena multiple times by, if you threw your opponent, for example, through a glass window or through the wall, for example, or just off a cliff, you could jump down and switch arenas. And that was the only fighting game doing that at the time, and it was technically very, very impressive. The characters looked good. They were also good characters, like aesthetically pleasing, not just in terms of sex appeal, but also in terms of design. And something I always loved about the universe Itagaki had created is that it was also one of the few studios that were able to make two really good games within a universe, because you had Dead or Alive, but then you also Ninja Gaiden. That, of course, Itagaki did not create Ninja Gaiden. He did create Dead or Alive. Ninja Gaiden was just a continuation from the original franchise. He rebooted it. So he was responsible. Him and Team Ninja at the time, of course, were responsible for the reboot, which is the most popular version of Ninja Gaiden at this point. You can say arguably the NES versions are still very popular, but I mean, the official way Ninja Gaiden is recognized in the modern times is through the reboot. Also because if you look at the various promo art and everything about Ryu, it's always a modern Ryu with a black leather suit. It's not classic Ryu with an S blue like G. So you had this whole shared universe in which you had Ryu, that was a character in Dead or Alive, but also he had his own storylines with Ninja Gaiden, and it was a bit of disconnect, honestly, because you see Ryu in Ninja Gaiden and he goes against gods, demons by himself, and then you see him in Dead or Alive, and you really can't imagine him losing against another person, because this guy killed literal demon gods. So how can he lose to another man? Yeah, but whatever. I digress. And I really like this aspect of what Itagaki was able to create with this whole shared universe. I kind of wish more studios did something like that. I always wish the Capcom did something like this for Street Fighter. I would have liked to have a scrolling beat 'em up with the Street Fighter characters. Would have been nice, but yeah, never happened. So Itagaki, like I said before, it was very controversial. He said and did some very weird things at times. Like, he was extremely critical of some of his colleagues. There were a number of occasions in which he was taunting Hideki Kamiya. I think they also told. I think Kamiya told him to fuck off, something like that. But yeah, he was trying to farm some rivalries with other very popular Japanese developers at the time. Also Arada, the producer of Tekken, which is also one of his closest colleagues. And I've seen on Twitter he was very sad when he learned about his passing. If I'm not mistaken, Itagaki was also at Arada's marriage, so they were. They weren't best buddies, but they were somewhat close, you can say. So, and I always liked, like I said before, this aspect of Itagaki's personality, because he made him stand out. He was a no bullshit guy. He told them like it was. He told things like they actually were. He didn't try to make things look nicer than what they were, to pillow talk people. He was very direct and really with no filter at times. So it's you can say he was very similar to Kamiya in that sense, just a little bit more classy, because he didn't straight up tell people to fuck off like Kamiya did, but he was also very direct. When it comes to the games he worked on, now, of course, I like to say that video games are a team effort. It's not just the director, even though a lot of the time the director takes all the success and recognition from a game that has success when it comes out. Think, for example, Resident Evil. Everybody always say, the Shinji Mikami, the Dead, or Resident Evil, blah blah, and he also happens to receive the praise from Ninja Gaiden. But the games are a team effort. Of course, the director is an important part, but video games are a team effort. And he and the people that were at Team Ninja at the time were really at the top of their game. Like I said, Dead or Alive 2 and 3, also Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate on Xbox, which is just a remake of Dead or Alive 2 for Xbox. You can also say Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volley, even though I never really played that much. Actually, I never played that. But I mean, it was just an extra diversion, you can say. You can, I guess you can compare it to modern gacha games in a way. It wasn't really my thing, but that seemed to be like a decent game as well. On a technical level, also, that was very good. It had the same graphics as Dead or Alive, so top-notch stuff for the time. And they were, they were really leaving a mark on the industry with those games. Ninja Gaiden also, Ninja Gaiden 2004, the reboot, was one of the best games of that generation. So people who say Itagaki was always a fraud, and maybe you can say nowadays he was washed up. Maybe, I don't know. But I think it's sort of understandable after what happened to him, which is very sad. He was at the top of his game when he was in Tecmo, because, like I said, he came up with Dead or Alive. He had a vision. He knew how things worked. He knew how the showbiz worked. He knew what made a video game appealing. So sex appeal, graphics, fun gameplay, engaging gameplay, everything, not just one thing. Video games are the whole experience. If it's only the gameplay that's good and everything else is mediocre, subpar, your game is not gonna be remembered for long. And I mean, he understood this. So he and his team created very good games. And it's sad what happened after the release of Ninja Gaiden 2 on Xbox 360, because he was forced to pretty much part ways with Tecmo, because he was actually sued for sexual harassment. So he left Tecmo in a bad way and took with him part of the people that were a Team Ninja. It was it was a weird departure, honestly, because he was working on the game, and this is a little bit of an insight that I have. At the time, I had friends that had a site. It was quite big, honest. I mean, not the biggest site, but it was not small either. It was a medium-sized site that talked about games and also conducted interviews on video games. They interviewed like video game personalities, producers, and so on. And they also interviewed Itagaki once about the release of Ninja Gaiden 2. And in that interview, he said something that was very striking to me, because of course I was very hyped about Ninja Gaiden 2. But he says, I remember clearly, that he said that Ninja Gaiden 2 on Xbox 360 was a prequel to Ninja Gaiden Black. And I said, how is that possible? You can already sort of tell by looking at the screens that and the videos that it takes place after. Especially after you play it, because it clearly takes place after Ninja Gaiden Black. Because Ryu and Murasama already know each other. Actually, Muramasa, I think he's called, but yeah. And even in if you examine the weapons, the Dragon Sword, for example, it says that Ryu used that sword to slay multiple great demons in Ninja Gaiden 1. So that it felt like he wasn't really he didn't really have his head all in the game when he was making that game. It's understandable because considering what he was going through and the game, the fact that the game pretty much released almost unfinished on 360. It had a lot of technical problems. It was very clearly a game that needed another year in the oven to be fully polished. I also think Ninja Gaiden 2 falls flat because it completely abandons the action adventure element that Ninja Gaiden 1 Black had. Ninja Gaiden 2 is straight up combat. There's really no exploration, no level design. The levels are just an excuse to go forward, and just kill enemies. There's no exploration like in a sort of open world that is interconnected, like it was Ninja Gaiden 1, which was another very interesting aspect of that game. But no, 2 throws everything out of the window. It focuses mostly just on combat, which, I mean, the combat in 2 is very good, but I wanted a little bit more from Ninja Gaiden 2, honestly. I wanted Ninja Gaiden 1 Black, but more. But we only got, you can say, an improvement over Ninja Gaiden 1 in terms of gameplay. Even though I don't know if it's really an improvement. Yes, it's more complex. The combat is more complex in Ninja Gaiden 2, but it loses the polish that Ninja Gaiden 1 had, in my opinion. Ninja Gaiden 1 is still overall the better game because it's just more polished as an experience. The combat is not as good as 2, but overall it feels better to play. It's more cohesive and tight as an experience compared to 2. And but yeah, after the release of Ninja Gaiden 2, like I said, Itagaki left Tecmo, and he wasn't really able to do much of anything after that. Probably because he didn't really have backing from anybody. Microsoft abandoned him. Didn't really give him much of anything from what I remember. They never offered him to make a new exclusive. Considering how close they were, because Itagaki was one of the poster boys for the Xbox. He was one of the devs that was pushing the Xbox back in the day. He was on the Xbox camp. Xbox and Itagaki sided together pretty much back in the day because of the power of the Xbox. And it's very interesting because, for example, Ninja Gaiden 1 was supposed to come out on Dreamcast, but it never did. It got delayed then on PS2, and then later on Xbox. I don't remember if it was supposed to come out on GameCube as well at one time, but what I do remember is that I think Tecmo at some point even asked people where they wanted to release the game. They made a poll, if I remember correctly. I don't remember if it was Tecmo themselves or a site, but I'm pretty sure it was Tecmo, or at least Itagaki, which I thought was very curious. And one of the aspects, of course, that made Ninja Gaiden 1 Black as good as it was because they took a lot of time to work on that game. They started and restarted development multiple times, so they had a lot of years to work on that game, which that also contributed to making it very good, as opposed to Ninja Gaiden 2, which sadly didn't benefit from the same advantage, you can say. Didn't benefit from the same time at their disposal. and it came out incomplete, which is one of gaming biggest missed occasions, in my opinion. The botching of Ninja Gaiden 2, mostly because of Tecmo being dicks. And yeah, after that, Itagaki fell off. He did release a few more games, like 1 or 2 games, but they really, I haven't played them, so I can't talk too much about them, but from what I've seen and heard, they weren't that good. And yeah, it's sad that he passed away without even being able to make one last game for its fans. In his last message, he was sad because he wasn't able to put out another game for his fans. And I agree, it's sad, but that's how life is. Something you don't always get what you want, but at least he was able to leave a mark in the industry. Even if not many people know who he is today, he was still able to leave a mark, and I think that's the important thing. He and his team left us with 4 of the best games you could ever hope to play, which is not something that everybody can say. Not everybody can say that they made 4 games that were top notch in their genres, despite being years working in an industry. But Itagaki and the people at Team Ninja did, and that's what counts. Now I'm not a person who idolatrizes personalities like him, but I'm just making a video because I thought he was important back in the day, and I liked him. I liked his personality, and I liked the games he was working on. I really back in the day I was really into Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive. I still am, but not as much as before. I was sort of obsessed back in the day with these 2 series. So I really felt the need. I wanted to make a video talking about this stuff because I make videos to talk about stuff I like and I enjoy. But yeah, let me know, guys, your thoughts on Ninja Gaiden and everything. Also because there's Ninja Gaiden 4 now coming out very, very soon. And that's another very sad thing, that you will not be able to see Ninja Gaiden 4, which sucks. But at least you can say he was able to see the fuck up that Ninja Gaiden 3 was. Yeah, that was really something. I mean, you can tell Itagaki was the one carrying Tecmo because of what they did with Dead or Alive and Ninja Gaiden after he left. They completely squandered those 2 series. Dead or Alive is pretty much dead. Ninja Gaiden also was dead for the longest time. Yeah, now we're getting a Ninja Gaiden 4, but who knows how it's gonna be. I've seen a few things I like. I've seen something I don't like. It seems like Yakumo is gonna be the main protagonist for most of the game, and Ryu is just sidelined. I don't know. I'm getting Devil May Cry 4 vibes from this game. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. But we'll see how it is. At least we are getting a Ninja Gaiden 4. And even though it's not the best game or what I would want specifically from this series, I still think it's gonna be decent enough. I mean, at least better than 3. So... But yeah, this video is too long, but like I said, when I'm passionate about stuff, I like to talk. So let me know your thoughts, guys, and I'll catch you soon. I'll talk about Ninja Gaiden 4 for sure. I'll buy it day 1, I think. So bye-bye, guys.